Hello, everyone. Um, Thank you so much for joining us today. We do really appreciate you taking your time to watch to learn with us about Title V and how you can best use it in your district. Please mute your mics and turn off your cameras to ensure that all participants can focus on the content. First, we're going to introduce ourselves. I am Shoshana Dotson, and I provide technical assistance for Titles 1 and 5.
I'm Erin Suddeth, and I'm the branch manager for the Title I Part A Support and Improvement branch, and Title V is within that branch.
So if you do have questions during the webinar, please drop those into the Teams chat and we'll answer those throughout the webinar. In case you couldn't attend the last Cadre, I've linked the webinar and PowerPoint. We discussed best practices for coordinating your district's Title V program, the final allocation drop for FY25, and how to navigate the master eligibility spreadsheet in order to plan your Title V program for future school years. Let's talk about what's happening today. First, I'm going to give some information regarding Title V fund spending deadlines. And I'm also going to have an announcement about a great conference that's coming up. Next, I'll have a guest, Veronica Bowler, that's going to share some information about and walk you through how to use the What Works Clearinghouse site. And I also have two coordinators that have agreed to share out today about how they are using Title V funds effectively in their districts. We will check the Teams chat for any final questions at the end, but again, feel free to drop those in throughout the presentation. Don't forget that the webinar and today's PowerPoint will be posted in the Title V portion of the KDE website shortly after the conclusion of our presentation. So for our first announcement, this is very important for all Title V coordinators. The 350J and 350K funds are set to expire soon. The 350J funds are the funds that are associated with your FY23 GMAP application. They must be expended or or encumbered by June 30th of this year, and the final federal cash request made by August 30th. And then for K, which are the funds associated with the FY24 GMAP application, those funds must be expended or encumbered by September 30th of this year, and the final federal cash request made by November 14th. As you make plans to use the remaining funds, please remember to align your GMAP applications to include the budget by code and amount to match the respective EERP spending reports as applicable. Another announcement I have for you is about an upcoming conference of interest to rural districts. The NFAIR is an annual conference that I've attended for the last 3 years. This year it is in October in Salt Lake City, and the theme is framed around place-based education, which is perfect for rural districts in Kentucky. The theme is deeply rooted in rural education, place, partnerships, and possibilities. Registration is open, and I have provided a link to the website there for you. Now, we're going to hear from one of my colleagues at KDE about a very valuable resource for evidence-based practices.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to be here with you today. So I work in the same office here at the Kentucky Department of Education as Shoshana. Our office is the Office of Continuous Improvement and Support, and we're both in the Division of School and Program Improvement. Within that division, I work in a branch called District 180, and we focus on school turnaround efforts across the state. My role specifically supports CSI schools, those identified for comprehensive support and improvement. So I do work closely with the schools and districts engaged in intensive improvement work. So before we dive into What Works Clearinghouse, I wanted to take a quick pulse check just to see how familiar some of you may already be with the site and what it offers. So if you don't mind to take a few seconds to drop a number in the chat from 1 to 5. 1 would mean you are not familiar at all with What Works Clearinghouse. 5 means you're very well experienced, you're a pro at using it. So we'll give about 30 seconds just to see where you all are with What Works Clearinghouse before we get started. If you don't mind to just put a 1 through 5 based on your confidence level or how familiar you are. All right, I'm seeing some 2s and 3s, a 4. Awesome. There's a 1. Thank you all so much for sharing that. I just wanted to kind of know where we were with that a little bit. All right, so first we'll talk about evidence-based practices. So evidence-based practices, commonly referred to as EBPs, refer to activities, strategies, or interventions that are derived from or informed by objective evidence. So most commonly, this is educational research or metrics of school, teacher, and student performance. To be considered an EBP, research is going to show that the practice or program works and has had positive effects on student outcomes, that there have been high quality studies conducted on it, and it's been reviewed by a reputable organization such as What Works Clearinghouse. You may have heard other terms such as promising practice or research-based practice, and these terms are sometimes used interchangeably with EBPs, especially from vendors, but they don't fit the same definition. These practices may have shown some positive student impact in some studies and not others, or maybe the number of studies conducted wasn't enough to warrant their approval from the reputable organization. So unfortunately, identifying and selecting an evidence-based practice is difficult for education professionals because they're often presented in formats such as a research article that is difficult and time-consuming to understand. So you might have flashbacks to some of your master's programs of reading these intense long articles that are really difficult to grasp. So that is where What Works Clearinghouse comes in. The What Works Clearinghouse, also known as WWC, is a trusted resource that's developed by the U.S. Department of Education's Institute of Education Sciences. And what they do is they systematically review and summarize existing high-quality education research to help educators, schools, districts make evidence-based decisions. And the resources can be found at this link right here, and we are going to dive into that here in a little bit and take a look at some of their resources. What WWC does is the heavy lifting. They evaluate studies on educational programs, practices, products, policies. They determine what works, for whom, and under certain conditions. It does not conduct new research, but it reviews and rates existing research, and they use strict standards, share those findings then in clear, accessible formats on their website. So why was the What Works Clearinghouse created? It was created about 20 years ago to address a critical need, helping educators to navigate the overwhelming amount of educational research and to find out what is truly effective. So in CSI schools that receive federal funding, they're required to use evidence-based strategies. Both CSI and TSI, or Targeted Support and Improvement schools, must use EBPs in their CSIPs, or Comprehensive School Improvement Plans. And districts with identified schools with those federal designations also must use the EBPs in their CDIPs. ESSA also, which is the Every Student Succeeds Act, breaks intervention categories down into 4 levels. And you will see a little bit of that once we get onto the website, but it breaks it down in either strong evidence, moderate evidence, promising evidence, or demonstrates a rationale. And the What Works Clearinghouse indicates where evidence-based practices fit within those levels. So why should we use it? Well, they review the research for you, so you don't have to wade through these journals or studies trying to figure out what's credible. You're going to have quick access to evidence-based strategies that have been thoroughly vetted. Not all education research is equal. So identifying well-designed studies, trustworthy research, and meaningful findings to inform decisions and to improve student outcomes can be tricky. So that's where What Works Clearinghouse comes in. And they are maintained by the U.S. Department of Ed, so it's free to access. It is not tied to any publishers or products, and it's designed to be useful for educators at all levels from preschool through post-secondary. So they offer 3 main resources on their website. Practice guides help educators identify and implement evidence-based practices. Those are probably my favorite for teachers to look at, and we will get into those here in a bit. Intervention reports, that helps decision makers decide whether or not to select or continue implementing an intervention or program. And then individual studies are also included. These are those articles that I was mentioning that can be quite lengthy. They are reviewed by What Works Clearinghouse, report findings from well-designed and well-implemented research. All right, so let's look at intervention reports. That's one of the 3 resources that they offer. You can go to next slide, please. Oh, you're good. So intervention reports, those are going to summarize what the highest quality research says about the effectiveness.
Hey, Veronica, we actually can't see the slides anymore.
Oh, are you working on that, Shoshana? Sorry, guys.
Yeah, I'm working on it. Sorry.
It happens.
I'll let you know. Sorry. All right, you guys, sorry about that. So intervention reports, they summarize the highest quality research and what it says about effectiveness, and it includes details on program components. It tells you target populations, and it breaks down cost of programs too. These reports give you clear, relevant information, and they help you select maybe a new policy or an intervention, maybe a program, something that you want to add or something you may want to change. You can search or browse through these reports, and these include interventions that could supplement the KDE approved HQIRs, or high quality instructional resources. So we are going to check one of these out. And I've linked an intervention report here that we're going to look at, but I'm going to actually go through the homepage to show you all kind of how to get there. So I'm going to take over sharing here for a bit. All right, are you all seeing what you need there?
Yes.
All right, so this is the homepage for What Works Clearinghouse. The web address does change there, but if you put in whatworks.ed.gov, that'll get you there. And when you get here, you can choose from resources as you scroll down. They are linked right here. So we're going to take a look first at the intervention reports. And it's being a little slow. So when you pull up all of them, you can see there's over 600 different intervention reports available. You can search over here on the left side. You can also filter over here on the left side if you're digging in looking for something in particular. And we are going to take a look at Read 180 today. So I'm just going to search that just so I can kind of walk you all through what this offers. Each one will tell you the year that it was completed as well. So from the landing page here, it gives me some information on Read 180. You can see here in the findings that 9 of the studies out of the 39 that they reviewed met the What Works Clearinghouse standards. So it just lets you know that they found 9 studies that you can rely on, that they felt were met their standards. So the effectiveness rating here is broken down by different outcome domains, and the 2+ signs there lets you know that it had a high effectiveness rating. So they're telling us that from their research of looking at all of these different studies, that comprehension and literacy achievement had 2+ signs of positive effectiveness for students. It also tells you over here the grade range that this research was done on and the evidence tier. So when you see the tier 1 or 2, you know that that's strong or moderate evidence and that it is more reliable. Over here, you can also see the sample of students that were included in the study. So this is important when you're looking at matching what your school's population looks like. So you can see here that there was some diversity included. There were some Hispanic students, 28% of students were English learners. Also see that 82% were of free and reduced price lunch, and that it was about half and half when it comes to gender that was sampled. Now at the top, you can click here to download the full report. So when you download this, you can learn more about how the intervention was implemented. Sorry about all of the scrolling there. But this tells you more about the program, the research effectiveness, gives you some details about how the program works. So within here, it tells you that there were 45 to 90-minute sessions, 3 rotations, and a whole class wrap up in the way that this program worked. You also can see how much it cost. You want to keep in mind, that this does say of January of 2017, but it does give you a bit of a snapshot of how much some of these programs cost as well. And then if you were to continue scrolling, you'll see that there are citations for each of the studies that they used. And also it gives you some summaries of those research studies. So it's still a lengthy document when you get into it, but it definitely takes a lot of the work out because they've reviewed all of the studies about this program. All right, so we're going to skip back to the slides now for a moment. So this is my favorite from What Works Clearinghouse, the practice guides. So these are very valuable because they merge what research says with what experienced educators know works. They're designed to tackle common challenges in education, like teaching, reading, or managing behavior, and they break these big topics down into practical, easy to use summaries, and they give you recommendations of how to implement the research. Each guide is going to include evidence-based recommendations, and the best part is they're full of examples and strategies that play out in real classrooms. These are not built just for teachers. Parents can find use in these as well. So as you can see here in this graphic, practice guides aren't just limited to one content area or grade level. They can support your work and answer questions across a wide range of topics, from early childhood through post-secondary. Core subjects. They also address non-academic areas like preventing student dropouts, and it addresses students from diverse backgrounds as well. So no matter what challenge you're facing, there is a good chance there's a practice guide that can help you to find a research-based strategy to tackle it. So before we get into looking at one of these, let's just kind of talk about what you're going to see in them. When we talk about a recommendation within the practice guide, we're not just referring to a list of suggestions. Each of these is actually grounded in research and expert insight. So you'll see the recommendation itself within the practice guide, and these are actionable, research-based suggestions for improving student learning. It's going to give you a summary of the evidence and how the practice supports positive outcomes. And there's also guidance, which will explain how to carry out that recommendation. It's informed by research, but it's also shaped by the expert panel's real-world experience in schools and in classrooms. Most of the recommendations are going to have tools and resources. They give you real examples and materials that help put the recommendation into practice right away. Also at the end of the recommendations are potential obstacles. I really love this section. It's kind of like a question posed that would say, well, what about this? This could happen. How would I go about implementing this with this issue? And they give you some ideas on how to address those potential obstacles. All right, so we will go and check out one of these now. So I'm just going to go back to that home page to show you all that practice guides are right here on the left side. And there are not as many of these. There's about 30 of these. And again, same, you can search, you can filter through. And they did just release one in December on behavior interventions. And it does say in grades K through 5, but there definitely are some things that you could take teaching at any level from this. So when you land here on the homepage for a practice guide, it gives you a summary and it breaks down these recommendations. It has the level of evidence over here. And so you can click that to see more about it. Anytime you click learn more about this recommendation, it's going to take you just to that full practice guide. So when I click the full guide up here, and you could see there were a couple of other links that you can explore later. Sorry for all the scrolling again. All right, so when you start scrolling down on the practice guide, and please look away if this is going to make you dizzy as I get down there. I'm sorry about that. It gives you an introduction to the guide and the overall theme or topic for it. It's going to kind of talk about who would find this useful, and it tells you themes that you're going to see throughout it as well. So I'm going to go on down to the first recommendation. So it lists the recommendation: co-establish, model, and teach clear expectations for student behavior consistent with school-wide expectations. I love it because it gives you the why behind it. And I think as educators, we feel very passionately about the why. And if we understand that, we just feel better about what we're doing and how we're reaching our students. It gives you steps, so it breaks the recommendation down even further, and they give you examples that you can click on and see, and they're also embedded. So here's just an example, very PBIS vibe here, and actually you can see this is from pbis.org, of school-wide expectations. And these are extremely helpful, I would say, for new educators and veteran teachers alike. You can tell teachers are behind this because they actually have a Pinterest link here with some anchor charts. So that's great. And I'm just going to scroll down a little bit more to show you all these potential obstacles. So they'll say, okay, my school doesn't have a school-wide behavior expectation, policy. What do I do? And so this is really great that it mentions too, like parents and other caregivers have different norms. How can I handle that? And it is the panel that these are experts that are giving this advice. So this is kind of the way that it repeats for each recommendation there. All right, so I will stop sharing that. And I think that's the last time we'll be switching our screens around. So thank you all for your patience there. So in addition to the practice guides and intervention reports, they also have their reviews of individual research studies. And so this is great if you're looking for some really detailed evidence on something very specific. And they give their ratings. If it is on there with a rating, you can trust it. Many times it's going to redirect you for the full PDF version to maybe EBSCOhost or something like that. But each study is reviewed for quality and rigor. You don't have to figure out whether it's credible if you're getting it from What Works Clearinghouse. You can filter by grade level, subject area, the ESSA evidence rating. So all of that's really helpful if you did want to dig in really deep on something. So I'm not going to take you all back to the website to show you that, because it is really just a list of the articles, and you would use those same search and filter functions on the left side as with the practice guides or intervention reports. So lastly, I do have some resources for you all to check out. The first two here are some U.S. Department of Education non-regulatory guidance documents. Those are just there, and if that's something that you would like to look into, they are lengthy documents, but they are broken down in very helpful ways, kind of a Q&A sort of formatting. Also, I've linked our KDE webpage on evidence-based practices so that you can see the resources we have, and you can see, or you can look forward to some changes to that in the next few months, but that is something you can check out. Also, I've just got a couple of What Works Clearinghouse resources. They have some really great resources and one-pagers under their resource page that can help you to really understand their work and why it's important and how to use it. And then I've also got the Regional Education Lab, REL Appalachia. They partner with educators in Kentucky to support the use of data and improve outcomes for students. So that's there for you all to check out as well. And I thank you all for your time today. I do hope that you're walking away with something useful from What Works Clearinghouse that you can apply in your school or district. I know it was a very quick overview, but there's so much to explore on there. So my contact information is here. Please feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions about What Works Clearinghouse. Also, although my primary role is a CSI consultant, you might recognize my name from emails about CDIPs or CSIPs and their status. So I'm definitely a resource for anything with Cogni or eProof, TSI, CSI, and school improvement funds, evidence-based practices. So anything like that, please feel free to reach out. And also, if you have any questions right now, you can put those in the chat and I can try to address those here in real time. So I'm happy to support however I can, and thank you all for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Veronica. Does anyone have any questions for Veronica? You can either raise your hand to speak or you can put your question in the chat. Okay, well, if you do think of any questions, please remember at any time you could just drop those in the chat or raise your hand and we will come back to that. So now it's time for Coordinator's Corner. My goal is to help you gain new ideas from other coordinators across the state regarding how they use their Title V funds. I had Amanda Lee from Morgan County. She got the ball rolling for us in January, and many of you commented on how much you enjoyed hearing from another coordinator. Depending on how many coordinators are willing to volunteer, I would like to make that a regular time, a regular part of our cadre time. Today we have Jennifer Pope and Tiffany Anderson. We're going to start with Jennifer. And before you begin, just tell us a little bit about yourself and your district, and then talk about your Title V funding.
Good morning. My name is Jennifer Pope. I'm from Russellville Independent School District. I serve as our Director of People Personnel and coordinate our federal programs and grant programs. This is my third year in Russellville Independent Schools. So along with that, I'm over our Title I, Title II, Title III, IV, and V programs. So our Title V programs, we're using those to help support our elementary school with their literacy initiatives and their CSIP. We're supporting our elementary school by providing a partial, using the salary to provide a partial instructional coach for the elementary school to assist with instructional practices and behavior interventions, and to assist our teachers with their, especially our new teachers, with their introduction teaching and help support their instructional practices in the classroom.
Okay, thank you very much, Jennifer. Now we're going to hear from Tiffany Anderson. After she tells us a little bit about herself and Powell County Schools, she's going to talk about how her district uses Title V funds for their high school, and then a little bit about her experience preparing for our monitoring visit that happened in March.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, okay, just checking because I've had little computer issues. They had to get me a temporary one. But my name is Tiffany Anderson, and I am superintendent for the Powell County Schools. That title just got dropped on me about 2 weeks ago with some more programs, but I have been doing federal programs for the district for 6 years, and that consists of Title I, 4, and 5 that I do, and then I also do PRI, Gear Up, SBDM, evaluation, and then I've took on some more roles this year. But if you're in a small district, you know we do a lot of things. So with Title IV and Title V, let's see, can I go ahead and share my screen?
Yes, I was just waiting for
Okay.
you to tell me your.
Yeah. And this will keep me on track because I'm a little scattered sometimes. If I can get it to share. All right, just let me know if you can see that.
Yes, it looks good.
Okay, so I supplement Title V and IV together. We have 3 elementary schools and a middle school, and they are all Title I schools. Our high school is not a Title I school, so I take the Title IV and Title V funds and kind of put them together and try to support the high school as much as I can. Sometimes it goes district-wide, but primarily we try to go to the high school. What we pay for, I combine Title IV and Title V, and we have done for the last few years a dean of students at our high school and a dropout prevention coordinator part-time. So Title V pays for all of the dropout prevention coordinator, but like I said, it is a part-time position. We have a retired teacher that does that and works with the school admin, school teachers, the students, the parents. He has his whole team that he works with, and to prevent dropout. And we have seen a tremendous improvement in our dropout rate. So that's been very beneficial to us. And then I pay 60 or 40%, I'd have to double check, of my dean of students salary, and then Title IV pays the rest. And we about 3 years ago, we was going through our high school, and we have, I mean, it's not a very big high school. It's about 600 students, but after the pandemic, the behavior just seemed to increase drastically with our students. And instruction had to be revamped, everything had to change. And our principal and assistant principal could not focus on instruction hardly at all because the behavior. So we decided that we'd do a dean of students position. This is not an administrative position. Well, it's a little bit of an administrative position, but he doesn't work with instruction. He works mainly with our PBIS, MTSS systems, focuses on the behavior of the students to remove barriers from home. He's kind of like the in-between between students and parents and students and teachers. And so he works with the dropout prevention coordinator as well. And as you know, I've been a principal. If you've ever been a principal, behavior can really just get you down. So we found the perfect person. He makes everything positive. So he has really just did a tremendous job with that. So by combining our Title IV and V funds, well, not really combining them, but you know what I'm saying, supplementing them off of each other, it allowed us to have that position. And our behavior, has decreased so much. Instruction improved so much. We were one of the bottom 5-6 high schools in the state, and now we definitely are not. We've moved up, and then after this year, based on everything we've seen, we really think we'll move up again. So that's been very beneficial. We also got selected for the big consolidated monitoring audit, and I will be honest, since I've been in this position, I kept looking back here at a binder that said the last time Powell County went through it, and I thought, man, I'm going to get hit pretty soon, and it's just going to be a nightmare, and that's going to take every bit of my time. And I will honestly say it was not. It was a very smooth process. If as a Title V coordinator, if you look at what KDE has provided with the monitoring checklist, as long as you have those things, man, it was smooth as could be. I had no issues. I thought it would just literally overwhelm me, and it has not. It's been a really good experience. We've learned a lot of things that we're going to change. I did have some links if anybody is interested in these documents that we use for our monitoring thing. And I don't know if I click the links, if it'll share with you, but I actually stole the format from Clark County and then can you all see that handbook?
We could at first, and then it kind of disappeared.
Huh.
It might be sharing the window versus your desktop. You might have to unshare and then reshare and pick the window that's in. It's weird.
Okay. Well, it's really not that vital, but I will put the links in the chat if anybody's interested. But I took Clark County's handbook they had, and we personalized it to our district. We took the KDE's consolidated monitoring checklist, went through, made everything was good, and then we put what evidence our district needed to have to support each requirement. And literally when they sent over my monitoring stuff, it was spot on. Like I do use the crate. I did not switch over. And my crate is aligned with the KDE checklist as well. You can manipulate that. And I literally just took my documents. They were already in there and just slid them over and they fit right in. I literally might have spent an hour and a half on the Title V portion. It was that simple. So just a heads up, if you want to make sure you're in compliance, just use their check sheet because it is spot on. And then I also do have an annual checklist that I use because I have so many programs like all of you I'm sure have, and this kind of keeps me in check, and I broke it down by month, and if I follow that and I just check each thing each month, then it's perfect compliance. So if anybody's interested in these resources, I do not mind to share. This is my 6th year in federal programs, and I've learned a lot of tricks, and I've stole a lot of stuff from other districts, and it's been great, and everybody's willing to share. So I do want to give a shout out to the monitoring team. They made it very easy, and I was honestly dreading it.
Well, thank you, Tiffany. And yes, we appreciate it. If you wouldn't mind to post the links to your documents in the chat, that would be wonderful. Let's see, I'm going to get the presentation back going. And sorry, there is always a little bit of a lag as we switch back and forth between activities. Well, thank you so much, Jennifer and Tiffany. I really appreciate you all taking time and sharing that helpful information. Does anyone have any questions for Jennifer or Tiffany? Again, you can raise your hand. You can put them in the chat, whatever you would like to do. Okay. Well, if no one has any questions for Tiffany or Jennifer, I'm just going to check one last time in the chat area of Teams and just see if we have any questions. And I don't see any. I do see that Tiffany has dropped a link to her documents that she was speaking about just a moment ago. So as always, I provide a helpful resource spotlight using ESEA Now, because as of now, we are still providing this subscription free for all of our districts here in Kentucky. You do receive emails twice a week. Very helpful information about all title programs. So great for those of you in districts where you wear multiple hats. Make sure if you aren't receiving these emails that you contact your district's Title I coordinator to begin receiving them. I did include some links to some very timely articles. The first link is actually a section of the website called ESEA Now Features. It's a page that lists all of the sections of the ESEA Now website with a hyperlink to and an explanation of each section. So if you've never been on the website, you kind of want to get your feet wet a little, see what all it has to offer, that's a great link. And then the next two links are regarding some different things that have happened over the last several months with the new administration. Feel free to click on those. Of course, you do have to be signed up with ESEA now, but feel free to click on those from your PowerPoint that I sent out. And you will be able to see it gives the second one in particular gives side by side budget comparison from between FY22 to FY25. And yes, Erin.
I don't want to forget this because I forgot to tell some people the other day.
Okay.
Just remember that the federal fiscal years are different from our state fiscal year. So when you're looking at these articles, if it says FY25, it's talking about next year. That's our current year, but I've shared this with some people the other day, and I think it really scared everybody that it was talking about this current year. So that is very confusing.
Thank you, Erin, for clearing that up. Yes, the federal fiscal year does run different from our GMAP application. So yes, don't forget that. And then at the bottom, there's an article called Streamline Social Services for Homeless Students as the School Year Ends. I'm sure for some of you, your school year already has ended, but these are key transition services to provide for your homeless students before they're released for summer break. Very important so that they don't kind of get lost over the summer, not knowing what to do or where to turn for different things to keep them going. And then I have a slide here with some of our links from the actual presentation that was just made. So I've got our link to our Title V website because the new webinar will be posted there shortly. And then there's January's. I have a link to the InFair website if you're interested in checking that out and seeing what all is being offered and you want to register. And then for Veronica Bowler's presentation that was made, slide 19 has a list of all of her resources she provided. And then I have her contact information as well. And Erin has put something in the chat for us. Could you kind of explain what you just put in the chat, please?
Yeah, so I was just typing it in there. This is something that I made for Title I. It's just kind of a little cheat sheet of state year versus federal fiscal year. So I don't have next year's funds on there, but you kind of get the idea.
Okay, thank you very much, Erin. I mean, one way I try to keep it straight is that I remember that if it's the FY25 GMAP application, it is for the school year that ends in 25. And if it's the federal FY25, it's the school year that begins in 25. I don't know if that would help anybody, but it is kind of difficult to keep straight. And then it looks like Tiffany just dropped another link into the chat. It says it will allow you to make a copy of her Title V handbook and to personalize it for your district. So very, very, very generous, Tiffany. Thank you so much. We appreciate that. And then we have a question from Carlina Carter, how do I get access to the ESEA website? I'm a new Title V coordinator. So what you would do, you would contact your Title I, the person in charge of Title I in your district, and they would have your login information so that you can access that. Is that correct, Erin? Oh, she's in charge of Title I as well. So you may
Yes.
need to send an email to Erin. I'll let Erin speak on that.
Yeah. What district are you with? Okay, Middlesbrough. Let me look and see if we do have some districts who didn't finish filling out like the information to start getting access. So I'll see if Middlesbrough's on there, and we'll figure out what we need to do to get you on there.
If any of the rest of you are in the same boat, you don't have access to ESEA now, please reach out to your Title I coordinator. And if that is you, please reach out to Erin or to myself, and we'll make sure that you get access to that. We really do appreciate you attending today. I hope that you learned a lot about the What Works Clearinghouse. Maybe it might be a good resource for you to look at over the summer. Think about some different ways you can use your Title V funding. Again, many great resources on that website. It is 100% free. Goes through the projected cost of different resources that you can purchase for your district. So I highly recommend the What Works Clearinghouse website. So again, we do appreciate your time and your desire to provide the best guidance for your district for Title V. Please do feel free to contact me at any time by phone or email. And don't forget that very shortly we will post this presentation on our Title V portion of our KDE website. And as always, these links to the webinars as well as Title I, they are accessible to anyone in your district. Anyone that has access to the KDE website, which is everybody, can click on these and watch them. So anybody in your district that their programs are funded with Title V, principals, anyone at all can look at those and get more information about Title V. Any other questions? Anyone think of anything you would like to ask? Okay, thank you again and have a great rest of your day. We appreciate you.